Hello and welcome to this special CRN webinar on how MSPs can monetize zero trust, which I don't need to tell you is a red hot buzzword in cybersecurity right now. My name is Simon Meredith and I'll be hosting today's discussion. So we hear a lot about this term zero trust now, but why is it that that particular term has come to the fore at this time? And what does it really mean for customers and for managed services providers? Well, that's what we're going to explore over the next 40 minutes. And with me in the studio to do that, I'm delighted to welcome Michael Jenkins, who is CTO at ThreatLocker, the leading provider of cyber protection solutions. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Simon. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. And Alastair Cuthbert. Alastair is the owner and managing director of Stoke-on-Trent-based managed services provider Arc IT Solutions, one of ThreatLocker's partners here in the UK. Hello, Alastair.
Hello, Simon. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Incisive Studio. So, Michael, let's start with you. This is something you must be grappling with every day. What is it, in your view, that we really mean by zero trust? And, you know, what's the real-world situation look like for end-user customers?
Well, zero trust is, as you said, it's one of those red-hot buzzwords. It's going around a lot. And there is a lot of misconception over what it is, because zero trust is a very simple concept that applies to every aspect of your business, especially in the security. It's the lack of trust of not inviting people into your building, as well as controlling what they have access to, and then taking it that step further to make sure that that zero trust is applied to your applications, as well as your files and your staff and every aspect of that business that you're running.
Okay, so we just don't trust anybody or anything.
Absolutely. It's that default deny approach.
Okay, and that's a term I think you use quite a lot, isn't it? So does that resonate with you, Alastair? And I mean, is it something that customers are worried about right now?
I deal largely with the SME market. Generally speaking, businesses that have no IT staff or expertise on site, and they're outsourcing that to businesses and MSPs such as myself. The business owners themselves, they don't have the time to get involved in, you know, what is the security concept or philosophy that we're running with. However, I have to say, having spent many years in this industry, and Michael will doubtless bear this out as well, it can be incredibly difficult, and it takes a great deal of skill to explain a security philosophy or the way an application works to a business owner. And in truth, they just want to know that it works and it does what it says on the tin, if you will. However, that said, zero trust as a concept is very easy to explain because, as you've already mentioned there, you are denying everything and access to everything by default, as opposed to the way we used to run years ago, which was pretty much, yeah, it's kind of wide open, because the more security we put on, the more difficult it makes for people to do their day-to-day jobs and complete tasks. And you don't want to be butting up against a bit of security software all the time when you're trying to get your job done and get that file sent out for a quote or such like. So zero trust as a concept, very easy to convey to the clients, and wonderful if you can get their actual perspective to shift to, right, we will grant the least privilege possible for every action that needs to be done in our business, because that is the most secure way to operate.
Okay. Michael, why do you think this term has even come to light? Is it simply because fraud detection systems don't actually deliver what they're supposed to, or they don't deliver enough, or the kind of protection and certainty that customers want, you know, from things like ransomware and other emerging threats? Or is it that organizations can't control what their users do? Or is it all of those things?
I'd go with all of them. I mean, your traditional approaches, I mean, let's be honest, they're an important layer in security, because security is layers. But if the traditional approach to preventing attacks and threats and ransomware worked, we wouldn't be having a conversation right now. The world wouldn't have heard of ransomware. But these approaches don't work because you can't just chase and be the one trying to catch up to the criminals all the time. You've got to be a step ahead. And by using a zero trust approach, saying nothing can run, unless I want it to, then it doesn't matter if it's 0 day or just been developed by somebody who's never put it out in the world before and is completely different because it's something new, therefore not allowed.
But we need something else than what we've already got. We need something more than applications management and normal network management.
Absolutely. I mean, you can never have too many layers in security. It's a simple concept of taking the traditional approach is, okay, you look bad, you act bad, I don't think I want you. Whereas we really need to take the approach of, I know you, I trust you, I'm going to let you work, I'm going to do this. And then controlling what that kind of can do. We use it in everyday life, so why not in our businesses?
Okay. So, Alastair, do you find then that customers are quite receptive to the idea? Because there's always the concern, isn't there, with security that we're selling fear. But from what you said to me just now, it sounds like customers are quite receptive to this concept of trusting nobody.
Yeah, I mean, using fear to sell has obviously been a very long-standing tactic in the industry. You know, oh, be scared of this, you need this shiny box or this application package in order to manage this and keep you safe from this threat. Whereas the whole concept of zero trust and the default deny approach of ThreatLocker, as Michael alluded to there, this has in the past has very much been a case of, right, we have software firewalls on the PCs, we have antivirus on the PCs, we have even a very expensive piece of firewall equipment which scans everything that comes in and out of our network. But to build on what Michael said there, you are then taking an approach of, oh, you look okay, you don't look too dangerous, or more precisely, for both the firewall and for the antivirus, I don't have a definition that matches what you look like that says you're bad. That doesn't mean you're not bad. That means I don't have a definition that says you're bad. So those files would pass into the business. They would be allowed to sit on PCs. They would be allowed to then do whatever nefarious action they have, which if they can obfuscate themselves from either the antivirus scanner or from the threat detection at the perimeter defense, they're inside your network and they're off and running. Whereas the default deny approach of ThreatLocker literally says, I'm sorry, I don't recognize you, you're not getting in. It's as simple as that. It's like a bouncer on the door of a members only club. I'm sorry, sir, you don't have a current membership, I cannot allow you access.
What is the real problem here? What is it we're really trying to protect users from? Is it ransomware, or is it something else? What's the main threat, Michael?
Ransomware is obviously the most commonly known, and the problem is now when people get hit with ransomware, they go, well, I've got a backup, I'm fine, or they've got something else that might protect them, or a bit of insurance. You've also got the threat then of that phone call 6 months later going, pay us or we're going to dump your data on the internet. And suddenly your company's been breached, you've got to admit to all your customers that all their data is about to be leaked, and you end up getting blackmailed. There's a misconception on who is doing these attacks. People from the media see hackers glamorized in TV and movies. They are criminals. There's no difference to somebody attacking your business with a virus to somebody putting a gun in your face and asking for your wallet. Yet we leave the doors open for them. And to build on that as well, it's not the reason the zero trust and default deny approach is so important is it's not always the bad software. What about the good software? Because if you've got remote access software, which I'm sure you use, Alastair, and that allows you to access your customers' machines, essentially one of the most important tools in your business for managing your clients and looking after them. But if there's another piece of remote access software on there that you don't control, you're opening a door. And it is the same as opening your back door and going, well, you know, I'm looking after the front, it's fine.
Okay, so, I mean, ransomware is clearly still a big threat. And, I mean, I just want to come back to you on this, Alastair, because we tend to think of it being, and the stories that hit the headlines are for big institutions, big organisations being held to ransom for very large amounts of money. But you said, Alastair, you dealt with smaller businesses mostly. Have you had smaller business clients who are being affected by ransomware? Is that happening there?
Yeah, this is absolutely the case. As Michael said, these are criminal entities, organisations and individuals. And what we're seeing really in the industry now, there is this belief of, oh, we're too small for them to bother with. We're too small to be a target. Why would they want to come at us? Well, they're coming at you because, yes, the very large ransomware gangs, or the gangs that actually create this stuff and package it up, they've learnt from Bill Gates in that I can write this piece of ransomware and then I can sell this to other miscreants that cannot write their own software, who can then go and buy this ransomware as a kit, and all they have to do then is manage the deployment of that to invade targets. And in that way, the ransomware gangs that write this stuff get a cut of the ransom profits, and they broaden their attack scope from one gang trying to infect a couple of very large, big whale type targets, to then having an entire affiliate network of people that are just trying to trick people through an email, or to do any of the standard tactics that we've all seen. You know, the USB device that gets posted to somebody, or the CD-ROM that gets posted. Sorry, I've just dated myself terribly with the word CD-ROM there. My hairline didn't do it, that surely did.
Plenty of
So it is a case of, there is nobody that is too small to be a target for this now, because there are plenty of hackers out there who, for whom a £1,500 or a £3,000 ransom target is a big payday. It's not all about getting £5 million from a very large FTSE 100 company. It is at this point about the manner in which this has spread and developed and become monetized in the criminal underworld is truly disturbing, and all of our clients are potentially a target.
Even the smallest ones?
The smallest ones, indeed.
If I can add on to that, if you take one of the big things that's been most recent, Darksiders attack on the Colonial Pipeline, big enterprise being hit by a group of hackers, they published an apology saying that their new targets would be smaller and less impactful. So they actively said, yeah, we won't go after the big ones anymore, let's go after the little ones. Because no one's going to war over small companies. And okay, they hit 1,000 small companies, half of them go bust, the other half pay. They've made a nice little profit.
Okay, so we should be looking at it as small businesses. We should be concerned about ransomware. But I want to put you on the spot a little bit here. With ransomware, it's been my experience as a industry journalist and observer that security companies won't actually say to you, yes, we can absolutely guarantee that we will prevent ransomware. Is that what you're saying at ThreatLocker?
I can say with 100% certainty that we have never had a single customer who's been locked down and secured be hit with ransomware.
Right, okay.
And it's easy to say that when we block everything. And that's it. It doesn't matter. If you don't want it running, it's not going to run.
And the side for the thing I was going to ask you, Alastair, was, well, that's quite good, isn't it, that the vendor will say that to you? Because one of the problems of being an MSP or a reseller of security solutions is your customers will want to turn around to you and say, so you're going to guarantee me that I won't have a problem?
Well, I think as any of the MSPs watching this will say, the idea of guaranteeing something in a digital age that has something to do with the computer is a fool's errand. However, what I will say, to build on what Michael said, is likewise, none of our clients that have ThreatLocker deployed on their IT estate have had any problem with ransomware whatsoever. And I will say this to MSPs of the internet as I sit here: if you wish to sleep at night again, free from the worry that you may wake up to one disaster after another that's going to require you to devote half of your team's productivity to getting a client back up and running in a couple of days. If you want to avoid all of that, if you want to sleep at night and be as safe as you can be, then get on board with ThreatLocker.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a little bit more about ThreatLocker in a moment, Michael, but Alastair, how long have you been working with ThreatLocker?
We were very fortunate to be part of the beta testing, what do we say, beta
Early
testing,
days.
as it was in America. From the early days we have, and we've seen this product not just liberate us from the worry, and you can make as many plans as you want about we'll have an offline backup, we'll have this disconnected, or we'll have this in a different domain, and we'll try and secure it this way and that way. The default deny will let you sleep at night, and it will give your clients the confidence to be able to operate in a digital realm and know that they are not going to be hit by the kind of nasty things we see out there that, as Michael said, either end businesses or take half the year's profit in paying the ransom to get their business back.
So when you said you were in at the start, that's a couple of years?
Oh, sorry, it's 4 years now,
4 years,
I think,
okay.
coming up for that.
So you're quite well established. Where did the original idea come from? Why was there a need for ThreatLocker to get developed in the first place? I mean, we cannot spend too long on that because we can check that out on your website. But I'm just curious about.
It's really simple. The concept of application whitelisting has been around for years. Governments, big businesses, they can afford the teams to manage it, and our CEO was trying to find a solution to a problem where he didn't have a team of people to manage it. It was for schools and small businesses, and one didn't exist.
Right.
So he'd used it before, he'd used it with big business, he'd seen it used in governments, so he put it into practice to make a method of using it and making it simple, because if you're going to sell to small businesses, if you're going to use it in a small business, it has to be easy.
And so, okay, it's easy. Is that what's really different about it, or what is it that's different about your solution?
Easy is one of the first things that's different about it. We've developed a whole lot more into it, because that default deny, yes, no, that's important. You're only permitting what you want. But we've taken it a whole step further. We do ring fencing, and we're the only ones that do this still. And what we say is, yes, this program can run. So take your remote access software. It's allowed to run, but it can't access your files. PowerShell can't access the internet. Internet Explorer can only run, but only to the one site that you still have to use it for those companies that won't update. You can lock it down really easily and with a lot of granularity, stopping the lateral movement. And one of the threats that people have is it's something called a rubber ducky. And it looks like a USB stick, but when it plugs in, it simulates a keyboard. Antiviruses aren't watching keyboard strokes. Types about 1,000 words a second, and it will deploy fileless malware on your computer. Your antivirus doesn't know it's happening, and even if it does, it struggles to protect you in the memory. Well, PowerShell can't get to the internet, so that rubber ducky stopped from as soon as it's plugged in.
This is, who would be plugging this into the machine?
See, everyone thinks, well, I've got my machines, they're secure, but how many businesses, say, car showrooms, have a computer on the floor? And I've been to a hospital dozens of times, care homes, and they've got their computers, and you're talking to people, and you could very easily just go.
So it could just be someone with malicious intent who comes along and plugs it into the USB.
Like I said, there's a lot of misconceptions over a hacker. People think, oh, they're sitting in their mother's basement, they're afraid of sunlight. They're not. They're chatting to you. They're face to face. They're flirting in some instances. And while you're smiling and looking away, they're plugging in a USB device and deploying malware.
And just explain to me, in simple terms, what you really mean by default and deny. I'm assuming the default is zero trust, and the first instance is action is to deny access.
Yep. So default deny is the simple act of everything is blocked.
Right.
So instead of the traditional approach of bad things are blocked, everything. You have to permit everything. Windows has to be permitted. Your RMM has to be permitted. You want to use Office, it has to be permitted. Everything has to be permitted. And with that approach, when you do get something that's unknown, brand new, well, it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, we don't care. We're not looking for good and bad, we're looking for permitted, otherwise it's blocked. And that's it.
Right, okay. So quite simplistic, really. Is it very difficult to do what you're doing technically?
From a customer point of view?
No, from your point of view, is it difficult to develop your solution? Has it been hard work developing that
A
solution?
lot of work goes into it, and something that we do that makes it even easier for our customers is we have a team dedicated to capturing applications. So if you do want to permit Office, then you can use our built-in definitions. We're not saying, oh, we know it's built in, trust it. We're saying, if you want to use it, we verified every single file.
So like the AV companies, that sort of thing is going on in the background all the time with ThreatLocker.
Yeah, we're
updating.
creating definitions. We just use them differently to what an antivirus would.
Yeah.
An antivirus creates a definition of bad. We create definitions of so-called good software that you can use if you use that software.
And it's all cloud-based, is it?
Yep, everything is cloud-based, so you can deploy wherever they are in the world and maintain them from a single portal.
And a subscription model.
Subscription model, yeah.
Okay. Alastair, I wanted to ask you what your experience has been like actually selling ThreatLocker. Customers, it sounds like customers respond very well to it. What is different about selling ThreatLocker than selling other security solutions?
Well, I think, as I alluded to earlier, the ability to explain zero trust and the default deny aspect of this makes it a concept and a philosophy of security operations that pretty much anyone can understand. And you can see the logic in this in a way that you can't, where you're just saying, oh, we've got 17 different antivirus scanners, so one of them's bound to have a definition for something that's whatever that's bad that comes in. So you're taking a lot of system overhead off everything, because instead of having to scan for things that are bad, all you're concerned about is does this match the list of things that are permitted? There are, I think as MSPs that deal with small companies will all understand that having the security conversation, though that's where our industry is heading, we all are leading with cybersecurity these days. Even though we may have started 10, 15, 20 years ago as traditional break and fix help desk outfits, we're all leading with cyber nowadays. This, however, is more than just another bit of software or another application suite. This is an entire security concept that is easy to grasp, very easy to demonstrate there and then to the client. And I have to say, for an MSP, for those of you out there that are wondering and thinking, well, this sounds really good, or hang on a minute, is this too good to be true? Am I going to have a help desk that's inundated with 65 ThreatLocker tickets per hour? I can say, we are, I would guess to be, the average size of MSP. We deal with 100 odd clients. We deal with X number of tickets per day. The number of ThreatLocker requests that we actually get through, i.e. for somebody has tried to run a program on a PC, ThreatLocker has said, I don't recognize that, but you can request permission to have that to run. That ticket comes through to our help desk. It'll also show up in our ThreatLocker portal. We can approve or deny that within seconds, literally within 30 seconds of that happening. That's, I think, one thing that Michael has undersold here is the actual speed with which this system operates.
So it really does allow you to do that managed services job for the customer.
It does, and this does not add a massive overhead to the MSP sync. It is probably 1 or 2% of the work we do each day.
Does it mean that you don't need a lot of other applications?
One would never say that you don't need an antivirus solution, but if you gave me a choice between an antivirus solution and ThreatLocker, I would take ThreatLocker every day, because
But the customers still tend...
they're wedded to the idea that that is there, yes. And look, layered security is absolutely the way we should all be operating. However, as I said, I made that a choice between one or the other. Right. And it would be ThreatLocker every time.
Okay, well, you've worked with them for quite some time, so this might not be a question you can answer, I don't know. But what I wanted to ask you is, what kind of skills, training, support do you need as a partner to be able to sell and use ThreatLocker effectively as a managed service provider?
Easier for your help desk engineers to administer than a spam filter or an antivirus console. If they can do that, they can very easily do ThreatLocker as well, because this isn't a product that requires you to put an enormous amount of thought into, oh, is that good or is that bad? There is no good or bad, as Michael has said. It is this permitted or is this not permitted?
Right. So if you've got a reasonable level of technical skill and understanding, you should be able to use this application pretty quickly.
If you've got a substandard level of technical skill, you can still use this application wonderfully well and appear like a genius to your clients.
Michael, I don't know, if you have a partner program or anything people need to sign up to, resellers, do they need to jump through any hoops to be able to sign up with ThreatLocker and sell it?
So our customers tend to go through a pretty similar process. They have a demo, and then we kind of guide them through the setup.
Customers, we mean partners.
Partners, yeah. So our MSPs, we'll bring them on, we'll show them the product, and we guide them through the first steps. We have a learning system that they can sign up for. We do weekly training sessions. We include all our training in our pricing. Everything's free from that point. Our support is free. Our support's available 24/7 as well. They're called the Cyber Heroes, and our customers love them because they can go to them 5 a.m. Christmas morning, click on a button, within 60 seconds they're getting picked up and they're getting an answer from one of the ThreatLocker Cyber Heroes.
24/7.
24/7, 365. The 5 a.m. on Christmas morning wasn't just a random time, it was actually a ticket that came through. And they were picked up the same as... Oh, no. I mean, yeah, I was totally working. No, the Cyber Heroes, they're round-the-clock support, and they look after the customers. And again, every time they come through, they're teaching the customer a little bit more about the product. So we guide the customers through everything, but it's a pretty simple process.
Okay. Support's pretty good then, Alastair.
Fantastic is the word I would use, Simon. I would have to say, to just build on a question you asked Michael earlier in terms of, what makes ThreatLocker different or what makes these guys unique. I would say this is a piece of cybersecurity software that is designed for the MSP and that was designed by cybersecurity engineers with MSPs in mind. This is made for our market segment. This is made for us as providers to be able to go out and secure our clients with at a low cost, at a very easy level of deployment, with a low cost of ownership and management and overhead, and that you can make a substantial margin on still.
Right. I was going to ask you, you make a profit out of it, presumably?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'll be quite frank with you though, Simon, if I didn't make a profit on ThreatLocker, it would still be at the forefront of what we do, because nothing else gives you this level of protection and flexibility in such an easy to use package.
Okay, very good. Well, maybe we should just take a quick look at it. Is that something we can do quickly, Michael? Just to see how easy it is to use.
Yep, so I'll only show you a little bit of it, just a small peek. Kind of just show you just the basics on how simple everything is. We are multi-tenanted, so our customers can very easily use their RMM to deploy ThreatLocker. It creates their customers for them, and then they can give their customers access to the portal if they want them to have limited access as well.
You can use it with any RMM, can you?
Yeah, we have scripts, manual deployment. We can do scripts with RMM, pretty much any way you want to deploy. Our scripting team has got a script for it, and if they haven't, they work with you to make sure that they have one.
Okay.
When the computers are installed, everybody starts in learning mode. So when you first deploy, this is one of the biggest headaches of this zero trust and default deny. You've already got your computers. We learn them, we profile them, we create the policies, and then locking them down is as simple as clicking enable protection.
Okay.
Computers are then locked down. You can do it en masse, you can do all of them at once, you can do one or two at a time, and you can basically control it so that the customers can be locked down at your will to make sure. Generally takes about a week of learning. I've seen people do it in less time than that, but generally about a week after installing you can secure the devices.
Right.
You have a list of policies, nice and simple. You can apply your ring fencing, permits, you can deny certain things. If you definitely know you don't want PowerShell, you can deny PowerShell. You can permit things for certain users, you can put schedules on it so it only runs at certain times during the day, or temporary policies where they expire after an hour or a day or whatever you need. And absolutely everything your customers are doing is logged in our unified audit.
Right.
So you can see if their files are signed, you can see what's being permitted, what's they're trying to run that's been denied. You can see if anything's malicious trying to happen in the background. This alone just gives you full access and everything. And some of our partners do go, okay, well, now I can see everything. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, they're playing games, you can lock that down as well.
Okay, and you install it per seat, per laptop, per desktop, whatever. Yeah, okay.
Small agent takes 30 seconds to install.
Right, okay, so very easy. So, I mean, just to try and sum up a little bit on this, you know, we mentioned right at the start that there's this zero trust buzzword going around at the moment, and what tends to happen is everybody jumps on that bandwagon and says that they're, now you're putting the case that ThreatLocker really is giving you that zero trust capability. How do you see things developing in the security market now, though? Where do we go from here? You know, what will the next challenge be that you're going to have to address? And the second part of this question is, you know, what will MSPs need to do to address those challenges and stay ahead of the market?
So, obviously, full knowledge of what's coming. If I had that, then
well,
would all be sorted. But
yeah.
no, I mean, if you look at the past and how it's going, the criminals are going to keep evolving. MSPs have got to take that step up. They've got to make sure that they're ahead of them. You can't keep following, you can't keep chasing. If you get in front of them, if you block it before it starts, if you take that level of security to everything that you do, if you're accessing files, and file access is a pretty important thing. Everybody's been using file permissions for years. Really easy to set up. You have your domain, you've got your file permissions, you go, well, that's fine. But take it that step further. Control what applications access your files, not just the users. Because it's a misconception that ransomware and these viruses are going to run under an admin. They're not. The users have just as much access to files. So if we protect those, protect what can touch things, protect the lateral movement, restrict the users so when they're coming in, they can do their job. And that's all.
Okay, I mean, you see where what I'm asking there. I mean, cyber criminals have a way of getting around whatever barrier is put up for them. But
they're used to.
They're used to. You say you don't think there's a way around this default and deny approach.
I cannot see a way around it. The only possible way around this would be some form of supply chain hack like the SolarWinds, but ThreatLocker has that down too because of the manner in which it profiles the applications in the permitted list and the definitions they give. I mean, I think it's, you've asked the question there of what's to come, Simon, and I think from where I'm sat, what I'm seeing more and more is that businesses are asking more and more for things like Cyber Essentials certification. If they are slightly larger, they'll be looking towards ISO 27001. Now, all of these things have the requirement that you have some form of auditing or login, and that audit or log is actually reviewed. And I think in this case, we've talked a great deal about the application suite, the application whitelist, its power for stopping ransomware and for other nefarious things that want to run in your network. I don't want to let this webinar pass without mentioning the storage control suite, because that is sounding like the poor cousin from our conversation here, yet I think that is the one that has the real potential for us as MSPs. If you can offer a client the ability to show all of the file access audits that are happening within their network from a single pane of glass, that's immensely powerful for compliance needs. And I think we've all had issues in the past where if a client asks, can you tell me who accessed this file or who did this and that? it can be an absolute nightmare and take you forever if you are trying to sift through Windows logs, Windows audit logs, Windows security audits to try and find those answers. So really, that storage audit feature is massive. It is huge, and I think that's something that we as MSPs can really build upon with our clients, because this ability to say who did what and when is going to be bigger and bigger moving forward, I feel, for compliance.
Okay, great, thank you.
Simon, just one more thing on that. You did ask what they should be doing. Constantly reviewing. It's very easy, and this is what's happened for years. People get comfortable with their solutions. They need to make sure that the solutions they're using are protecting them the way they think they are. With ThreatLocker, like I said, it's a default deny. So when somebody wants something, it's a human looking at it going, should I allow it? And it's very easy to fall into I'm protected by an AI. And automation is wonderful, but always have that manual review. And an MSP that's going to keep on top of their technology and make sure that they're using and looking around at what's coming and what's happening. And just because they think, okay, I might be small, it might not apply to me, assume it will. And then you'll be prepared for that.
Okay, I've got one question that's come in for you. I think you should be able to answer this. Is there any co-marketing funding? This is from Dave Merriman. Thank you for your question, Dave. Is there any co-marketing funding for joint marketing? And also, does ThreatLocker integrate with ConnectWise Automate? I think we'd answer the second question.
Well, to the first question, we work a lot with our MSPs on marketing. We have marketing resources available. Our marketing department would be the best people to ask if you want to do any co-marketing. But we do have a load of white papers and stuff that can be branded with the MSP brands. So they can use them just to kind of distribute to their customers. For the second one, we do have scripts for Automate. So it can deploy and it will create all the customers from Automate into ThreatLocker.
And on the marketing, it sounds like a case-by-case basis.
Indeed. If I can just add there, we recently changed our RMM as a company, and we made largely the decision we made was by speaking to the team at ThreatLocker, because they deal with the RMMs all day. We asked them, well, what do you think is the best one? And sure enough, when we trialled all of the candidates we have, they were right.
Okay, fair enough. Well, perhaps that's another subject for another webinar. So just quickly, Michael, what kind of partners are you looking for?
MSPs, pretty much of any size. Anyone who wants to take security seriously, that's kind of the only requisite. If you're not interested in security, then you're probably not going to be looking at ThreatLocker and looking at doing it. But
I think there's an argument that every MSP, every reseller in the game should be interested in security.
Exactly,
right now.
And that's it. So any MSP that is fed up of chasing their tails, we can definitely work with and help.
All right, and presumably they just get in touch with you if they want to know more. Which I'm sure isn't too difficult. But Alastair, finally, you've had a good experience with ThreatLocker by the sound of it as an MSP.
Very much so, very much so. It is at the cornerstone of everything we do with our clients now.
Nice. Okay, very good. Okay, well, that's just about all we've got time for today. And I asked Michael how you can get in touch, and of course, everyone who's registered for today's webinar will be receiving details of how they can get in contact with ThreatLocker and get hold of further information on their solution. And if you have any further questions, please just let us know and we'll see that they get answered. So it only remains for me to thank both our panelists today, Michael Jenkins of ThreatLocker and Alastair of Arc IT Solutions, for their time and for their insights. And thank you for tuning in to this webinar. We hope you found it useful and informative, and that we'll be welcoming you back to another CRN webinar very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.